5. Terrifying nights alone. True stories that prove solitude isn't always safe. My name is Thomas. I'm 28 years old, and I have to tell you about 5 separate experiences that have completely transformed how I view safety isolation and the concept of being truly alone. 5 nights that taught me something I wish I had never learned. 5 stories that prove that sometimes the most dangerous situations are the ones that happen when absolutely no one else is around to help you. If you love true horror stories about people being home alone, unexpected intruders, mysterious deaths, and the kind of psychological terror that comes from facing danger with nobody there to back you up, hit like and subscribe right now. And keep listening, because what happened to me over the course of these 5 separate incidents will make you think twice about ever being alone in your own home again. These are the stories I still can't fully explain. These are the nights I'll never forget. Part 1. The noise in the Victorian house. I work from home. That's not something most people believe when I tell them. My area isn't really known for remote jobs. Most people work with cars or in the medical industry. There are many jobs where I live, but somehow I managed to land a decent-paying position that allows me to work from my home office. It's definitely come with its struggles, but it is hands down the best job opportunity available to me right now. The house I live in is old. Genuinely old. We're talking mid-1800s Victorian-style architecture. A family friend owned the house for decades and eventually sold it to me for a price that was incredibly fair. Almost suspiciously fair, like they just wanted me to have it. I was absolutely thrilled because it meant I got a nice big house to live in with my girlfriend, and I'm a natural loner anyway. I don't really care for social interaction. So having a nice big house with minimal forced human contact seemed like the ideal life setup for someone like me. But the house's age came with consequences. It was going to be scary sometime. Not in the supernatural sense or anything like that. I don't believe in ghosts, but I hear the house settling, making noises that I can't explain. Sudden creaks, random groans. Sounds that echo through the old wooden structure at 3 in the morning that make your heart jump into your throat. I've had quite a few instances where I'll be sitting down and working completely focused on my tasks, when suddenly I hear a noise that I just can't rationalize. I get up and go exploring throughout the entire house, checking every room opening, every closet, looking behind every door. And every single time I find that nothing has changed. Nothing is out of place. Nothing has moved. It's ominous and frustrating all at once. I did what anyone else would do in this situation. I started using background noise to drown out the disturbances. First, I tried those quiet instrumental videos on YouTube. You know the ones. They last for 5 hours straight, and they're supposed to put you at ease or help you focus. Calming piano music, gentle rain sounds, ambient forest recordings. None of it really worked for me because I couldn't get my computer to be loud enough to actually drown out all the noises the house was making. Plus, the ambient sounds weren't very good at keeping my attention. My mind would wander away from my work. Then, one week, my work was really slow. There wasn't a whole lot to do, but I still had to sit at my computer. There was an understanding with my employer that I was allowed to basically do anything I wanted as long as I was available to my co-workers if something came through that needed to be done. It was a pretty sweet arrangement, honestly. I didn't quite know what to do with all that free time and just started watching documentaries on YouTube. It was actually pretty fun. I learned a lot. History stuff, science stuff, true crime documentaries about unsolved mysteries. So the next week, when things started picking up again and I had actual work to do, I just instinctively turned on the documentary in the background. I wouldn't be able to have all of my focus on it, but it was a lot better than having just ambient noise. It actually helped distract me from the sounds of the house. I guess I just didn't have enough mental focused energy to consciously notice any of the other sounds going on around me. Well, it had been about 2 weeks of me watching documentaries while I worked, when everything seemed to be good. Then, one Friday morning, I started work at 8 o'clock in the morning. This must have been around 10. I was sitting at my office chair working on some spreadsheets while I listened to a documentary about certain conspiracy theories when all of a sudden I heard an abrupt banging noise coming from upstairs. My heart literally jumped. Like I had said, I hadn't been distracted by any noises for a while by this point. So the fact that I noticed this noise meant that it was probably serious. My fight or flight response kicked in immediately. You might laugh at me, but when I work, I keep a knife next to me. Just in case. Just in case of what I don't even know. Probably that exact moment. I ran upstairs with the knife in my hand and looked around for any suspicious noises. The banging had stopped, and I didn't know where it had come from. I knew what general section of the house that I heard it from, but there didn't seem to be anything out of place. Nothing was disturbed. I stood there in the hallway for a few moments, listening carefully, trying to hear any other sounds. And then I heard it again. It happened right on the other side of my bedroom door. The sound was louder this time, more aggressive, more intentional. I immediately braced myself for there to be some kind of animal or something trying to get in. Maybe a raccoon, maybe a opossum. I didn't really know what to expect. I opened my bedroom door slowly to see that the screen door had not been properly closed. My girlfriend hadn't closed it all the way when she left for work that morning. It was also pretty windy that day, so the screen door was just going back and forth in the wind, banging against the frame whenever it got bad. Back and forth, each time creating that loud banging sound that had sent my heart racing. This was kind of a breaking point for me. I didn't want to live my life in constant paranoia and fear of some kind of attacker coming into my home. We live in a safe area. There's never been a serious threat in this neighborhood, and I've run around my house with a knife way too many times now. I felt absolutely stupid standing there with the knife in my hand, realizing it was just the wind. So I made a decision right then and there. I was no longer going to assume that someone was breaking in if and when I heard a sound. I put the knife in my dresser in my bedroom and decided that I was going to just work while I was working and listen to my documentaries. That was it. So there I was the next week. It happened on a Wednesday afternoon. I was sitting in my office doing exactly what I had set out to do. I was working, ignoring the noises, listening to a documentary. I remembered the exact part of the documentary I was on when I heard it. They were talking about some historical event, some mystery from decades ago. The sound was the loudest sound I had heard in the house up to that point. At first, I reassured myself that it was nothing. I needed to fight against this paranoia. But the sound continued, and I couldn't take my mind off of it. After about 5 minutes of listening to what sounded like rummaging and walking, footsteps, someone moving around, I went upstairs to check. Bear in mind, I didn't have any weapon on me, and I was expecting some kind of reasonable explanation. Maybe the wind again. Maybe something had finally fallen off a shelf and broken. When I got to my kitchen, I saw that the front door was wide open. The cabinets were all open, and there was a strange man rummaging through my stuff. just casually going through my kitchen like he owned the place, like he had every right to be there. I didn't notice until after the fact, but he had been eating something, taking bites out of food that wasn't his, consuming things that belonged to me. I remember screaming at him. I don't remember what I said exactly, but it was something to the effect of, "What are you doing in my house?" My voice came out louder than I intended, filled with rage and fear all mixed together, and then he just ran off. Didn't say a single word to me. He just turned and bolted toward the door. He took a loaf of bread with him, a literal loaf of bread. I don't think he took anything else, other than what I'd eaten before I came upstairs. I reasoned with myself that he must have been some sort of homeless man or something. I don't know why else who would steal a loaf of bread from a very ordinary-looking house in a normal neighborhood. Maybe he was hungry. Maybe he was desperate. But this was the worst thing that could have happened to me at that moment. On some instinctual level, it had proved all of my worst fears right. There was real danger in my house. Real, unpredictable danger. And of course, it was the one time when I didn't have my knife on me. I lucked out that he didn't try to hurt me or anything. But it's still horrifying to think about nonetheless. The fact that someone could just walk into my home whenever they wanted. The fact that I couldn't stop them. The fact that I'm no longer safe in the one place where I thought I was protected. I just work at a local coffee shop now. It's honestly my only way to stay sane. Part 2. The burglar in the wealthy neighborhood. My mom's really good friends with one of the wealthiest people in our town. They have a daughter my age. I don't have a crush on her or anything, but my mom has pushed me to ask her out before. I never did. Here's the weird thing about the situation, though. My mom and this friend, along with her daughter, all kind of act like they're friends. Like a bunch of high school girls getting together to gossip about the latest drama. My mom works in a beauty salon, so I guess I understand why she likes to act that way. But it's still pretty weird nonetheless. There was one specific occasion when this woman and her daughter were going to visit New York City for a weekend getaway. They decided to invite my mom for some reason. I don't really understand why. I guess they really were better friends than I had believed, but my mom decided to say yes anyway. So it was just me and my dad at the house for the weekend. But here was the thing. The wealthy family's house was going to be completely unsupervised for the entire weekend. No parents, no security system armed. Just an empty house sitting there with everything inside it waiting to be taken. I was in my early 20s at the time, so I guess they thought it would be a good idea to ask if I would watch the house for them. Keep an eye on things. Make sure nothing happened, which I agreed to do. I didn't get paid or anything, but they said I was allowed to eat as much food as I wanted. And considering that they were rich and their kitchen was fully stocked, thought why not free food and a quiet weekend to myself? That sounded pretty good. This also gave me an opportunity to write some short stories. I always loved writing and I published some of my stuff online. Sometimes I still do. It was that Friday night when I was watching their house. They told me that they had 2 cats, but they were really scared of strangers, and I was probably not going to see either one of them the entire night. Didn't bother me. I just had to make sure that they had food and water, which they did. Everything else was up to me. I was chilling at the kitchen table, pounding the keys on my laptop, working on my latest story, when all of a sudden, I saw something out of the corner of my eye. I looked up from my computer to notice the ugliest cat I've ever seen in my entire life. Just imagine a hairless cat, but also morbidly obese and cross-eyed all at the same time. It was honestly the strangest thing I've ever seen. Any one of those traits individually would have made a cat kind of cute. But seeing all of them thrown together in one pitiful excuse for a pet almost made me want to bust a gut laughing. I felt kind of bad for laughing so hard at this girl's cat. But it's not like she heard it or anything. She wasn't there to be offended. That had been a good break from writing. But then I got back into it. I remember being in the middle of writing a really interesting scene. This ghost was abducting the protagonists of the story. It's kind of a psychological thriller with a little bit of paranormal elements thrown in there. It's very spiritual and weird. I'm kind of a weird person, honestly. But that scene still sticks with me because as I'm sitting there typing it all out, I noticed something outside. There was a man in a hooded sweatshirt walking around the neighborhood, just casually walking down the street. But something about his movements felt wrong. They felt deliberate, calculated. I sat at the kitchen table stunned. I didn't know what to do. I felt the adrenaline burst through my veins like electricity. Fight or flight response kicked in. My body was telling me something was wrong even before my brain caught up to it. Well, I figured that my car was outside, so running wasn't going to do me much good. And after a minute of rationalizing the situation, I had no proof that this person was out to do anything bad. For all I knew, this could have been a jogger. Maybe he was just out for an evening run. Maybe he lived in the neighborhood. But my gut told me something was wrong. I got up close to one of the windows to watch this man more carefully. He seemed to be sneaking around. He wasn't coming toward the house I was in, so I figured that I was at least safe for the moment. But then I noticed him looking into the window of the house across the street. I could only assume that he was checking houses to see if people were home or not. Must have been an actual burglar. Show up in the wealthy neighborhood and see who wasn't home. Figure out which houses had people inside and which ones were empty and vulnerable. I don't know why he would do it at night, though. Looks as suspicious as he did. We live in a gun state, after all. After a few minutes went by, I could tell that there were people at home at the house he was checking out. I could see lights on inside. I could see movement through the windows. So he moved on. But by the time he realized I noticed him looking back, he did a complete 180. He was walking in my direction now, straight toward the house I was in. I was about to be face to face with this man. I saw him walking across the street toward me, and I immediately started to panic. My hands were shaking. My heart was racing. I was alone in this house with just me and two terrified cats who wouldn't come out of hiding. I called the police as fast as I could and told them the situation, but they said it would be about 20 minutes before anyone could be there. 20 minutes. That felt like an eternity. I had 20 minutes to figure out what to do. I ran up to the attic to hide. I locked the door behind me. I figured if he broke in, at least I could buy myself some time. At least I could try to stay hidden until the police arrived. In retrospect, this was my biggest mistake. I should have turned on a bunch of lights and made it obvious that someone was home. Should have grabbed the largest knife from the kitchen and positioned myself by the door. Should have done something to make the house look occupied. But I'm good at thinking. Just not in the moment. Not when my adrenaline is pumping and my brain is in survival mode. The house must have looked completely uninhabited by the time I'd gotten up to the attic. All the lights were off except for the kitchen light where I'd been working. The front door was unlocked. The windows had no bars. This made the house the perfect place to burglarize and steal everything. I was in the attic for about 10 minutes when I heard a window breaking downstairs. Crash, the sound of breaking glass. He was in the house. My heartbeat was inside of my forehead. I could feel it pounding against my skull like it was trying to escape. He walked around the house for a few minutes. Thud, thud. I heard the humongous boots marching across the wooden floors down below. He explored the house for a good while, moving from room to room, opening drawers, looking for anything valuable. I was really beginning to wonder where the police were. I'd called them. I told them my situation. Where were they? How long did it take? How much time did I have left? I heard him get close to the attic entrance, and that was the moment that pushed me over the edge. I was done being passive. I was done waiting. I started screaming at the top of my lungs that I had a gun. I told him that I was going to shoot his head off if he didn't leave the house immediately. And to my absolute shock, he ran away. I watched him run down the street as I looked through the window. It appeared that this guy was even more scared for his life than I was. Fear can be contagious like that. His fear matched my fear, and they just amplified each other until he couldn't handle it anymore. But police eventually got there. It took them longer than 20 minutes. They said traffic on the main road had held them up. I told them the entire story from beginning to end. Every detail, every moment of terror. They said that a couple of people had been reporting this guy in nearby neighborhoods, so this wasn't the first night he's been out doing this. The police explained that this guy hadn't been violent on any of the occasions they've been called. They said it was about the 7th time this month that they have responded to a similar incident in a wealthy neighborhood. I guess he's going around looking for an easy way to make money. He hasn't been face to face with any of the homeowners yet until me, so maybe he isn't a violent criminal, just a criminal in general. Opportunistic, predatory in his own way. I found the entire experience really interesting yet mortifying. Living through it was probably the most scared I've ever been. My mom, her friend, and their daughter didn't even come back early from the trip after it happened. I thought that was a lame move. But what do I know? For revenge, I ate every single pizza roll they had in the freezer. And if you're wondering, there were 3 bags of 90 pizza rolls. I ate over 270 pizza rolls that weekend, and I have no regrets. I sorely needed them after that borderline traumatic experience with the burglar. Part 3. The shadow on the electrical post. Don't want you to picture the middle of nowhere here in Kentucky. An iconic country home, ranch-style architecture. The owners are wealthy. The closest neighbors live 15 entire minutes away. The closest gas station is a half-hour drive. Walmart is 40 minutes away. Those are the circumstances under which I was raised. And then there's me, a pretty typical 20-year-old who was born and raised in a relatively wealthy family. I was lucky enough to have been born to a father who owned a store in a mid-sized city. The city itself saw a major population growth in the 10 years after my father had purchased the store. And it had produced enough income that we immediately became the 1% in the state. Probably the entire country, honestly. My father took the money that he had made from the store and used it to purchase real estate, which produced more money. So we kind of had buckets of money lying around. For some reason or another, my father thought the ideal life was away from civilization, which is why he built this ranch home out in the middle of nowhere. It was also a bit of an inconvenient living situation. After all the money in the world means nothing if you don't have stores to spend it at. But the older I got, the more my father educated me on finances. He also said that he didn't want us being corrupted by metropolitan living. I didn't really agree with him, but I respected him. There were many nights that I spent at the home alone. I was always a fairly mature kid, so my parents naturally gave me a lot of responsibility. The first time I was home alone, I must have been 12 years old. And considering we had a house full of expensive guns, alcohol, and hunting equipment, you can understand how much trust my parents really had in me. There wasn't very much in the world I wasn't prepared for, but there was one experience in particular, something that happened a few weeks ago that I still think about all the time. It sits in my memory, haunting me. It happened one night when I was alone. My father had a business meeting on Saturday morning, so he got a hotel Friday night in the city with my mom. This left me home alone to watch the castle by myself again. Something I've done a million times. I never thought twice about it. I have always been interested in business ventures online. The thing I have been experimenting with that night was video marketing. I was interested in making something go viral. Over the course of a few weeks, I probably had created 6 or 7 solid viral video attempts. But only one of them accumulated any attention, and it was a measly 100,000 views. Anyway, I remember sitting in my home office, working on a cat video. On the far side of my room is my window. I can see the backyard there. There's a mountainous structure in our backyard. Basically a really big rock. It's pretty tall, probably about 50 or 60 feet maybe. And in front of it is all farmland. My father grew wheat, although he paid people to do most of the work, and there was a very strange shadow on the rocks. There were some lights from the electrical posts in the field, and it was as if someone was moving around them, or something. This is absurd. You guys know how tall those electrical posts are. The idea that someone would climb on top of one of them, or that there was some kind of animal or something on it, really freaks me out. I really didn't want to lose electric either, as I was really into that cat video. I looked out the window to see what was going on. All I could see was a shadowy figure on the light posts near the light. My immediate thought was that there was some kind of freak that came out here and climbed on top of it, but I couldn't imagine why anyone would do that. I put my horror movie-based fear to the back of my mind and rationalized that it must have been some kind of animal that had climbed up there. Maybe a large cat. Maybe a raccoon. It was far enough away that I could not give you a rough size. Could have been a bear. Person. Cat. For all I knew, I just knew something was up there. Just to be on the safe side, I grabbed a pistol and my flashlight to go check out the situation. I made my way out there slowly. I got more nervous as the moments went by. Each step seemed to bring me closer to the unknown. My fear grew with the increasing distance between me and my house. The grass outside was dry. It was warm out. I slowly got closer and closer to the pole. By the time I got close enough to see the figure, I noticed that it was gone. I stood there in silence for a moment, contemplating what it could have been. I looked around to see if whatever animal may have been up there had fallen to death. I didn't see anything in the general vicinity. I always hated leaving the animals to die like that. I got down on one knee to say a prayer for what an animal had been up there. I couldn't imagine that it didn't die, whatever it was. While I was praying, I heard a hiss behind me and felt it. Scratch claws dug into my back. I reacted the only way I knew how and flung my body around. I thrusted my elbows against whatever it was behind me. I hit it really hard in an almost instinctual way. I got away from it and immediately began firing my pistol in its direction. I must have gotten 5 shots off by the time I stopped and realized what I had done. I had obliterated a raccoon. It was a raccoon. Just a raccoon. All that fear, all that tension, all that adrenaline, and it was just a raccoon that had climbed up the electrical post. Maybe looking for food, maybe exploring. Just a simple animal doing what animals do. It really freaked me out. The entire experience was kind of traumatic. Staying home alone was never quite the same after that. I called my dad and told him what had happened before driving myself to the hospital. I had to get a rabies shot, unfortunately, which may have been the most painful experience in my life. I discovered the next day that I had inadvertently shot 2 of the windows out of my mom's SUV. The parents made me pay for that with my own money. And no, I was not nearly as rich as them. The only money I had to my name was the money that I had made from my personal business ventures online. It was kind of lame, honestly. My dad always hammered into my head that the bullets I fire are my responsibility, no matter what. It's not a bad lesson to learn for anyone interested in owning a gun. When I got out of the hospital, I went home and finished making that viral cat video. And it's only got 3,000 views. You can't win them all. But yeah, I guess the moral of the story is that even rich people who are secluded out in the middle of nowhere still have to deal with stupid stuff like this happening to them. Dang paranoia and dang raccoons. Part 4. The night my dog died. This story happened a month ago. It was hands down the scariest moment of my life. Everything turned out fine in the end. No one died or anything. Thank goodness for that, but I really did not think that at the time. I had recently graduated college. I was a marketing major and I was having a hard time finding a job. I didn't have anything lined up for me right after I graduated like some of my peers. So I did what most people do and moved back in with my parents. Not gonna lie, it was pretty weird moving back in after having been away for so long. For as long as I can remember, it was just me and my dog. And now I was living with my mom and dad again. It sucked. My parents had actually moved when I was in college. I never really felt a strong connection to their new home. Honestly, I didn't really like it. And I'd never spent more than a couple of nights there, even during the summer. I would stay at my apartment in the city only because, well, why not? And again, you can see why it was so weird for me and my dog to move back into my parents' house. Because I've never really lived in this house. It's not that it was particularly negative or anything, but anyone who is in tune with their mind and body and moves around a lot will remember that it is distressing. Even if there's nothing problematic about the move, you can be 100% financially, spiritually, physically secure, and fine in every aspect of your life. But when moving into a new home, it will invariably cause some distress. There was one Friday night when my parents had gone out for dinner. They wanted to have a night away from all the regular worries of day-to-day life. I have 2 other brothers, and they're both in high school. So you can understand why my parents would need to break away. My brothers, being my brothers, both went out to sleep over at a friend's house. They only have a year between them, so they hang out in the same friend group. And they all have this weird thing where they would sleep over at each other's houses and just play video games all night. That left me and my dog Dorian home alone until my parents got home. At least I remember feeling really freaked out. Not in a crazy way or anything, but something just felt off. Like there was something in the air. It's really hard to explain, but I felt it. That sense of unease, that feeling that something wasn't right. I remember being in my room reading an article about the best ways to get a job. It was about 9 o'clock at night. My parents probably wouldn't be home until about 11 or 12. I remember being really into this one article. I was taking notes on things that I could do to improve my resume. And then I heard it. My dog made one really weird noise. It was almost like a bark, but also a whimper, a sound of distress. I knew something was wrong because he very rarely made noises. He was usually quiet, calm, collected. I rushed downstairs to see what was going on. He was sitting there perfectly fine, as if nothing had happened. And this was extremely unusual. His behavior was completely out of character. I looked around the house frantically. He had food. He'd just gone to the bathroom, and nothing around the house seemed to be out of place. I chalked it up to him not liking being at my parents' house. It sounded rational enough. I made my way back upstairs to get back into the job-hunting grind. And then I heard that very same noise again, maybe 15 minutes later, and this time it really unnerved me. This was very out of behavior for my dog, and I had this odd sense of impending doom. Like something was about to happen. Like time was running out. I ran downstairs and looked around for a minute. There I didn't even see my dog. I didn't know where he was. I called out to Dorian, but he didn't answer. He didn't come running like he usually did. Then I made the worst discovery of my entire existence. I realized that my dog was dead. He was just laying on the floor, motionless. It was so weird because he was only about 2 or 3 years old, young, healthy, or at least I thought he was. I closely examined his body, and it didn't appear as if he had even been in a fight or a struggle of some kind. No blood, no bruises, no puncture wounds. It was as if he just laid down to take a nap and died. There was no sign of what killed him, no explanation, no obvious cause of death. I remember feeling really sad. Devastated, actually. That sense of fear and adrenaline never went away, though. I couldn't stop thinking about it. My dog was fine, and then he was gone. Just like that, I waited for my parents to get home. I was really psyched out that night. Didn't know what else I could even do. I felt like calling police was a bit too extreme, and I didn't want to be the college graduate turned adult who moves back in with his parents for a week and needs them to rush home because he's scared. This all happened a while back. I still can't explain how my dog died. There was no autopsy, no investigation, just a dog that was alive and then wasn't. I ended up landing a job a couple of days later in a nearby city, and I was really happy to have been moved out of that house. It freaked me out pretty bad, and after an incident like that, my parents can visit me any time in the future. I don't think I can go back there anymore. Conclusion: what solitude teaches you. These 4 experiences have taught me something that I wish I'd never learned. Sometimes the scariest moments in life aren't the ones that come with warnings. They're the ones that sneak up on you. They're the ones that happen when you're completely alone. They're the ones that change you forever in ways you can never fully explain or come to terms with. I've learned that paranoia isn't always irrational. Sometimes it's just awareness. Sometimes it's your body recognizing danger that your conscious mind hasn't caught up to yet. Sometimes it's the difference between life and death. I've also learned that isolation doesn't always equal safety. Being alone in a big house doesn't protect you from the world. Being away from people doesn't guarantee that nothing bad will happen. Sometimes it just means that when something does happen, you're the only one there to deal with it. The only one who can help yourself. These stories have changed how I live my life, how I think about safety, how I understand the world around me. And I share them with you, hoping that maybe you'll be more cautious. You'll listen to your instincts. You'll trust that feeling in your gut that tells you something's wrong. Because sometimes that feeling is all that stands between you and disaster.